deeply troubled by what I'm hearing. This is, it saddens me as a psychologist to listen to the stories that I'm hearing. Just want you to know that. This morning at 2 o'clock, I was awakened by a sensation that I was going to come face to face with the devil. And I told my wife this, and it was unpleasant, but I think now with the stories that I'm hearing, I can fully understand what that message was. That's why I bring my Catholic Bible with me today, because I needed to get through what I'm hearing and to probably do this presentation for you. I'm going to stick close to the script because I think that's probably what I need to do. My name is Dr. Dan O'Loughlin. I'm a licensed psychologist for over 32 years. I've been in private practice in Fredericksburg, providing family-oriented counseling to children, teenagers, and their parents. In the past few years, I've witnessed deterioration in the psychological well-being of many youth in our community. Increases in anxiety, depression, self-harm, gender confusion, suicidal ideations, and a lack of hope for the future are apparent. One could easily attribute this to the COVID-19 pandemic, the widespread use of technology, and general uncertainties about our modern life. But I don't truly believe that this is the whole story. In 2019, the Texas legislature enacted sweeping school safety and student mental health legislation. And I believe some of what I observe is an unintended consequence of this legislation. Before I talk about my concerns, I want to make it clear that my experience of classroom teachers is positive and that they love their students. And there's no question about that. So I don't that's not what I'm addressing today when I talk about classroom teachers. I know they love their students. So let me share some concerns. The role of classroom teachers and other frontline school personnel is changing rapidly. There's an increased interest in students' personal lives, their psychological well-being, and their interpersonal relationships. Classroom teachers are now providing increased instruction time on social and emotional learning objectives and on soliciting student responses. Textbooks, handouts, and other instructional material reflect a desire to understand students' personal lives and shape students' values, beliefs, and behaviors. Classroom questionnaires and other information gathering devices reflect a desire to identify and categorize our students. As a psychologist, I have to ask the question, what is the purpose of all this, and how does it really benefit our students? Secondly, it appears that some classroom teachers and frontline school personnel now engage in activities which seem beyond their training and competencies. Not long ago, questionnaires and screenings were the exclusive domain of licensed specialists in school psychology and educational diagnosticians. I ask, where have these changes come from? Where are these professionals today? Schools often contract with outside agencies to provide universal student mental health and suicide prevention programs. Many contract instructors do not have recognized professional mental health credentials, yet they provide instruction and often advice to students on highly sensitive topics and encourage self-disclosure. This increases the probability of psychological harm to students and of damage to the public trust of parents and community members. As a psychologist, I know that to provide services outside of my training and area of competence is an ethical violation and possibly a legal one as well. Thirdly, I'm concerned about patterns of minimal disclosure to parents of school-based universal interventions and the misleading manner by which parental consent is obtained. Interpersonal trust, honesty, and openness are foundation principles for all persons and professions serving children, teenagers, and their parents. Ethical guidelines state that in matters of education, research, and therapeutic intervention, all parties parties have the right to full disclosure of content, method, scope, risk, and record-keeping practices. To keep parents uninformed weakens and disrupts the parent-child relationship. It undermines parental authority, and it erodes confidence and trust. Lastly, I'm concerned with matters of student rights to psychological privacy, personal autonomy, and freedom from coercive and warranted social controls. Tier 1 universal interventions show a disregard for student confidentiality and for the educational concept of a least restrictive environment. To ask students to share sensitive personal information in front of peers leaves many students feeling vulnerable, exposed, and even resentful. In an age of excessive bullying and cyberbullying, no student can comfortably share personal information under these conditions. Equally concerning is that emotionally sensitive students can easily experience vicarious trauma as a result of exposure to real-life trauma shared by peers. Not all students have the same capacity to process emotionally charged information, resulting in negative outcomes for more sensitive students. Many student mental health and suicide prevention programs are mandatory unless parents opt out their student. However, students tell me frequently that they are pressured to attend regardless. To place a student in such a powerless position implies a condition of intimidation and coercive control. Due to our limitations in time, closing comments and a list of my concerns are in your handout, so I will leave it at that. Thank you.